Now, color coding data from our perspective is crucial because it makes the information far easier for teachers and parents, in fact, to decode. If you're looking at a spreadsheet or a student map that is just filled with numbers or outcomes or levels, you actually have to read each one for each student to work out if they're going well or falling behind and so on. If you look at that same information, but each result is color-coded, usually a traffic light system, red is below, amber is at, and green is above, that means that you can far more easily identify students who are performing below, at, or above where you're expecting them to be. And the way we color code results in GradeXpert is a very simple if-then question. If the result is less than 20, then show it in red. If the result is between 20 and 50, then show it in blue. And when GradeXpert loads and displays that result, it will test each one of those conditions and say, all right, it is between 20 and 50, so show it in blue. So if you can understand that, I mean, it's almost a bit like programming, but if you can understand how that works, then you can apply the same rules to every single assessment. What a lot of schools have been doing in the territory actually is they've been converting or using GradeXpert to convert every single test result to one of 4 bands that indicate whether students are above, below, at, or well above where they are expected to be. And that means that you can normalize every single test outcome, whether it's NAPLAN or PAT or a classroom assessment. You can then very easily see which band a student falls into. The same thing can happen with just plain color coding. If you're color coding your data, it makes it very easy to identify all the different belows, ats, and aboves. Let's go back to master. So here's an example of color coding that's very easy to understand. Any red means they're below where they should be, any yellow means they're at the expected level, and any green means they're above the expected level. So if I take a map that's got my English, and I'll take my PAT stain iron, and I'll take my torch stain iron, I'll take my single word spelling test, and I'll take my South Australian spelling test, and I print that out, this is far more useful than a printout that is not color-coded because the issues jump out at you. The reds, you can see along that student, who is that? That is Brian. Brian's having problems in all those areas. You can see so is Ali, the last student on that list, having problems in all the areas. But then you can see the next student, Christy, doing very well in English, above the expected level, but all these others are at or below the expected level. I think that's probably a 5-point scale. So by using these colors, it's far easier to identify different assessments or different students that need to have attention for whatever reason. GradeXpert, the company, will help you set up any color coding that you may want to use. We're going to show you how to do it now, but it is often just far quicker and easier for us to do it. It doesn't cost you guys anything extra. All we need from you is a breakdown of how you want the color coding to work. And the color coding can be broken down not just to what the student got for a test result, but actually what year level they were in and what term or semester the test was done. So this means, for example, a PM benchmark level for year 1 students in term 1 of 5 needs to come up in red. 5 or below needs to come up in red. But if they're in year 2, that same PM benchmark level, if it's below 20, for example, must come up in red. So you can adjust it per year level so that a student who achieves, say, a PM level of 6 and they're in year 1, compared to a student who's achieving a PM level of 6 and they're in year 2, the year 2 level 6 would show up in red, but the year 1 level 2 will show up, say, in orange or green, simply because you're adjusting it for their year level and the period throughout the year, because a term 1 green may not be a term 4 green because you're expecting them to improve their learning throughout the year. A lot of this makes sense when you see me doing it, and I'll show you here. So we are currently going to, in fact, I'm just going to create a new assessment, and I'll call this reading. So we're just going to set up a raw score in this example for a reading assessment, and we'll make it a raw score out of 20. And any number between 0 and 5 comes up in red, 5 to 15 comes up in amber, and we'll make 15 and above show it in green. So those are pretty straightforward if-then statements. If the raw score is 5 or less, then show it in red. If the raw score is between 5 and 15, show it in amber. And if the raw score is above 15, show it in green. There are other variations, as I mentioned earlier, such as including the term or the semester or the student's actual year level.